Hey everyone, so welcome back. You should have watched the video from the Skinny Packet, and the Skinny Packet was available for you to access on Schoology, because if you were not here in the building, then you wouldn't have had that packet yet. But where I am right now is in that big packet that has the Minions on the very front cover. So let me jump up there. Looks like this, okay? And where I need for you to go though is page 18. So let me get to page 18 myself. And we are going to be using this feature in your graphing, in Desmos. And the way you can access that in Desmos is if you are in Schoology. So I'm in Schoology right now, and I'm in the week 2 folder, but under where it doesn't matter what cohort you're in, red or silver. But besides Monday, if you just look, you're going to see a link that says Desmos Calculator Help. And if you click on that, you're going to see this pop up. So what we're going to be doing in this section is we're going to be taking some data from these notes. The big packet is what it's now called. And we're going to enter into Desmos, and we're going to do our best job to see what these points look like, linear or exponential. Sometimes it's going to be very easy to tell, sometimes it's not, but then Desmos is going to use it's smart thinking to tell us if it's linear or exponential. So right now on Desmos, the shape that we don't need is this green shape. So if you will go over on your computer and you can hit the X and just get rid of it. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take the data from, here we are back in the note packet. I'm going to take the data from this note packet and type it into Desmos. And a couple things when we do this, the first set of numbers is going to be X, and the second set of numbers are going to be the Y, like this. And so it just says you're hiking in the mountains on a trail that leads west. So that's that distance for X. But as you hike, and it also rises, so as you're walking this way, you're going up. And so that elevation that you gain, that's your Y. And as you hike, you stop periodically to record the changes in horizontal distance and elevation. So this is just telling you when we stopped. But that first, second, third, fourth stop is not like X or Y. It's just, telling us which stop it was. So again, distance will be our X and Y will be our elevation. And we're going to be doing this on page 18, 17, and 16. And we're just going to go over answering the first 2 questions in each column. All right, so what I'm going to do is switch over to Desmos. Unfortunately, I probably could have both screens up, but I'm not going to because I have a paper version of this. And so on page 18, I'm just going to take that information and put it into Desmos. So jumping back to Desmos, and you just have your paper version in front of you as well. What we want to do is go over to the X's, and I'm going to get rid of 1, and I just want to type in 400, and then I'm going to hit the down arrow and get 900, and I'm just going to type in all these numbers, and I'm going to do it carefully, making sure that I get everything correct, because if you do mess up on this, then I won't know, and it's just going to mess all your answers up, and then that's a lot of work for me, which I don't really want. So when you type in your data, double check that everything looks correct before you move on. So now I'm ready to type in the Y, the elevation. I'm just going to make sure that I put the correct Y value with the X value that was there. So 400 should have 5,000. Notice I'm not using commas. You don't use commas in your calculator. You do not use commas here either. So 80, 90. So just putting some things in. Okay, so sorry, you have to see me just type this in. And I might be faster than you, and that's fine. So first thing I want you to realize is we should be seeing a bunch of points on our graph, and I'm not. So what I'm going to do is on my screen, if you go over to this wrench on the right side, we're going to go to where it says x-axis and y-axis, and I'm just going to get rid of the x-axis number that's in here, and the x-axis is the distance in feet. So I think of what's the possible smallest distance that could ever work would be 0. And then when I go to the right side, I want to put in, what's that possible biggest X value that I would work with. And in this case, the biggest X value in our table is 4,800. And I always like just to go a little bit higher than that. And then I'm going to do the same for the Y's. So again, the smallest elevation I would have would be 0 feet. And the biggest elevation they're using is 10,000, but I like to go higher than that, so I put 11,000. And then if I just tap in the screen, I can see all the points, all right? If you don't want to see this part, you can go up here and hide that. You can also bring it back. So what I'm going to do is leave it here, and I want to go over here, and I don't want to see these red line and this orange curve. So I just tap on there, and it actually just makes the points or those shapes go away, and then I can just focus on the points. And what I want to ask myself is, do I think this looks more linear or more exponential? So in my opinion, I mean, there is some curve to it, but the curve isn't the correct way. I need it to look like a capital L or a capital J. So I'm going to say that this, in my opinion, is linear. So what I do from there is I come back, and we can put those back in here now. And what we're going to do on the packet is write down an equation for our linear equation. And we're going to write an equation for our exponential, which I want you to realize that normally we use B and G, and they're using A and B. And I'll show you that in just a moment. And we're just going to put these numbers under the parameter in there. So I'll put this number in for M and this number in for B. And we will be rounding 3 numbers behind the decimal. Okay, so that's it. So if you've got a lot of numbers, I don't want to use them all. So because of how I'm doing this, I'm going to take a quick picture of this so I can refer back and write these numbers down. The other number we're going to be writing down is this one next to R. All right, so going back to the packet, remember a linear equation, and I would just be following along. I would write y equals, and then for M, they have this number of, let's see, where is it? 0.963. That's what I would write down, rounding 3 numbers behind the decimal. Then I would put an X plus my B, and on B I actually don't have to round because I don't have enough numbers behind the decimal. All right, and then I'm also going to put the R number, and this time I'm just going to write the whole thing, so 9422. Now, normally in exponential, this is what we use, and you saw that in the other notes. Desmos switches it like this. So just realize that what was our B is their A, and what was our G is their B. So we're going to have to follow that, and we'll want to remember to put that number in parentheses, the one right in front of X. So it's going to go Y equals, and then B is a nice number. I don't need to round it. And then in parentheses. Now, normally I want only 3 numbers behind the decimal, but B can never be 1. And we'll talk more about that later. So this is a rare time where I actually just write all of what I'm seeing. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And then this one's R value is this number. So what we're doing in this homework is just getting the setup so we have it for later. Now, I had guessed it was linear. There's a way to verify that, and that's where you look at R. And I want you to think of this as you guessing a number between 0 and 1 without going over. So whoever gets closest to 1 without going over is the winner. And when I compare these 2 numbers, and you know, if you think of 1 as $1, then if I just ignored this 0.22 behind it, let me cross it off, and this 3.1, 94 cents is closer to $1 or closer to 1 than 0.92. So the winner is linear. So, you know, eventually one of these is going to be better. And if you can't tell, the R number will tell you. So that's why I put a star there. So that's page 18. And we're going to do page 17, and then your job is you'll do page 16 on your own. Again, I'm just going to answer the top 2 questions, like so. And this time I'm going to go and make time X and altitude Y. So I'm going to switch back to Desmos. And this time I'm just going to go to my table and make sure I find the right page. So hold on. Okay, okay. So I'll put 4 and then 7 and 9.4, 11.3, and then the other number. So I have some extra numbers. I'm just going to delete those numbers, and then I'm going to go over and put their matching Y's. So there are commas, but remember, do not put the commas in. So it doesn't, I'm not too fast at this, but I am faster than some people. So, all right. And then these other numbers, I just delete away. So again, before I move on, I just want to double check that all my numbers are correct, that I didn't mistype anything. So again, here, let's just get rid of these colors. And I'm going to go back to this wrench. And this time I'm going to put some new numbers in there. So when I think of time, the least amount of time as far as X can go is 0 seconds. The most I want for time, according to this, they have 14 seconds, so I'm just going to go higher. I'll make it 20 seconds. I like to end with something with zeros. The more zeros, the better. When I like the y-axis, and that's altitude, our altitude is going to be 0. That's the smallest you can have in feet. And the highest they have is 12,600. So again, I like to go higher, and then the more zeros, the better. So I'm going to make this 13,000. So now I'm just going to take my mouse, tap here. I'm going to hit this just so I can see all those points. And so here when I guess, you know, linear, exponential, again, there's a curve, but it's not that capital J or that capital L. So I'm going to have to go with linear on this. So now I'm going to come back. And I want to go down here and I'm going to do the same thing. If you want to put those in there like this, you can kind of see how those points are following. So the red is the linear and the orange is the exponential. So again, they both look very straight when they draw those shapes in there, but we want to focus on the red. All right, so I'm going to go over here. Again, because I am flipping between two computer screens, I'm just going to take a picture of this so I can write my information down. Okay. So going back to this, I'm on page 17. And for linear, again, y equals mx plus b. So y equals, m is this negative 417 number. And I don't need to do any rounding behind the decimal. Whoops, but I'm not writing it correctly either. And then I'm going to write my B. I don't have to do any rounding. And R, again, R, I'll just write the whole thing down. So 0.984, whoops, 9845. And then for exponential, I'll write Y equals, they want me to put A first. Don't have to do any rounding. B, even though they don't have parentheses, I will put it in parentheses. And this one time I am going to round. And X is an exponent. And this one's R value is negative 0.9833. So what I asked the students in class was, well, how come R is negative this time? And it's just because the points are going down rather than up. So here when we do our guessing and we're trying to figure out, you know, which is better, and I compare the numbers, again, this time I'm going to see who's closer to -1 rather than +1. And negative 0.9845 on the linear is just a little bit closer to -1. So that's my winner. And now what you will do is you will go to page 16 and you're going to, again, answer the same 2 questions. And I had you do this one just because the numbers are smaller. And on the right, when it says how well does your curve fit the data, that's just, again, asking you for R. It's just phrased a slightly different way. So that's your job to complete for when we see each other in week 3.